Feature tile destruction is a fun element of the game where certain units with powerful weapons can actually destroy some of the terrain in the game. How do you know if a terrain tile is destructible? Well, the destruction information is listed right here at the bottom of the tile. So for example, this particular church building is impervious to all attacks except from bombs, large tank guns, and rear line artillery. So what that means is that units inside of this church, so if you have some infantry inside of this particular church, they're basically protected from every attack unless infantry enter the church and raid the tile, or if a unit such as a Tiger tank brings its main gun to bear on the building itself. So how do you destroy a feature tile? Let's take a look at this church example. We've got a couple of infantry inside the church getting some cover. They're firing outward through these green edges, which means they can fire out through that church, but they can't be targeted directly. However, this church can be targeted directly. So in this case, that's what we're going to do. The Tiger is going to fire right on the building. So you don't put the targeting marker on the units themselves, you put it right on the building. It's a legal attack because the 8.8 centimeter main gun of the Tiger is big enough to affect that building, as we saw on the feature tile. So there's a simple chart on the quick reference sheet and in the rules that basically tells you to look at what unit you're firing with, in this case a tank, and you check the range. So 1, 2, 3 spaces away. So for that particular case, we've got a tank at 3 spaces away. The weapon requirement is met. The attack modifier is basically going to use the vehicle attack value, which is 11 for the Tiger, with a bonus of 4 to hit this building because it's a big target. So from 3 spaces away, you have to roll as if you're attacking a vehicle with a bonus of 4. So in this case, let's see what happens. The Tiger is going to fire and hits with a 12. So the main gun now hits the building. Now what do? Well, you don't use the damage index of the weapon, you simply roll intensity. Let's see how well placed this shot was. Does it take the church out or not? Again, look at the chart. The tile is destroyed if the intensity roll is a 6 or higher in this case. In this case, we rolled a 10, and that means that in fact the church is destroyed. So what you do is you take the tile and you simply flip it over, keeping the orientation the same. So the bottom edge stays the bottom edge, and you place it back where it was. Now, that attack is complete, but what happens to the infantry inside? They immediately get a damage card, each of them. So it can be very deadly, and sometimes the units will, in this case, as you see here, rout. This unit retreats, remove and score as if destroyed. So the sniper leaves town as soon as this main gun is brought to bear on the church. The squad, we draw a card for him. And in this case, unit receives D10 additional damage. And some of the infantry effect cards are really make sense, like penned, for example. It makes sense that the timbers of the church might pen the squad or whatever. So in this case, the damage is applied to the squad. You've already gotten down to 8. Now you're down 6 more points to 2. And if there were other effects now, if there were other attacks going against this space, that would actually potentially destroy this unit later in the round. But for now, they did survive, and they're down to 2 points of endurance remaining. So that is basically what happens. Now, what physically happens to this building? Well, you can see that on the intact side, there's green edges and red edges all the way around, which makes the infantry inside concealed. However, when that tile is destroyed, notice that where the damage is corresponds with an opened up line of sight. You'll see unhighlighted edges now. And what that means is that the units inside can be targeted directly from this back side. Now, they still get a bit of a defensive bonus from the ruins, in this case 3. However, it's more easy to target these infantry units that survive inside of here. So again, feature tile destruction is something that's an integral part of the game, and is kind of a lot of fun to do. Now you'll notice that on some of the terrain tiles, some of these feature tiles, they can't be destroyed. So if you see this infinite defense right here, that means that the only way to get at the infantry inside is to raid the tile. Enter using these entry-exit arrows, and in this case of the bunker, fight within the tile, within the bunker. So it's impossible to destroy that unit. And another way you get a hint at that is if the flip side is not a destroyed version of the front. So if you don't see a destroyed side, you know that tile is pretty much indestructible. Now there's a couple of other cases. One case is also in the case of like crops. Crops are destroyed when a tank simply enters the tile. So it says right here on the tile, destroyed upon tank entry. So if a tank enters the crops, you just remove the tile from the game. There's no destroyed crops or anything. Same thing with the village barbed wire here. Infantry can get trapped in this, but if a tank rolls across it, it's going to take the wire out. So that is basically the gist of feature tile destruction. There's other units that can destroy tiles, for example, mortars, artillery from the rear line, aircraft using bombs, etc. And again, all of that information, where applicable, is shown right at the bottom of the tile, where if you can destroy the tile or not. So that is basically how these feature tiles are destroyed in-game, and you'll find that you'll be doing that a lot, especially in the village, on the village side of this village defensive line map, because these buildings are all over the place. So that is it.